Thanks, Wax. Thanks, Bryce. I think, I've seen the names. A lot of you know me already, but I'm Nick Millman, VP of Partnerships at Rally. I don't think I've spoken officially on the community call yet, so excited to share a little with you. I was going to just do sort of an intro of myself, a little intro of the team, our partnerships team, which obviously has been growing pretty rapidly over the last few months. Bryce and Grant and a few others, I think everyone knows pretty well. And then, wanted to share with everyone just a little bit about kind of our high level strategy as far as how we're looking at creator acquisition and growing the network. Obviously, our strategy is a work in progress, but I think Bremner and a few others have shared some things on Discord, but I wanted to kind of give a quick overview and kind of explain how we're looking at things. And then obviously, if there's some questions, just happy to take them, at the end. Real quick, obviously I've been at Rally since I think this week will be like 3 months, gone by in a flash. It's been incredibly exciting. Me personally, my career, I've been building sort of creator focused businesses for, the last 10 years, basically. I started my career initially as a lawyer doing bankruptcy and securities litigation. So it's sort of interesting that I've come full circle back to sort of a crypto and sort of a financy related thing. But my passion and sort of my career really has been entirely about creators. I was part of the founding team at a company called Niche back in 2013. That was one of sort of the first marketplaces to help creators primarily on Instagram and Vine at the time. People remember that platform, monetize. I think there was a lot of economic infrastructure around YouTube with MCNs and other businesses, but no one was really helping Instagram creators and Vine stars and Viners and Snapchat a little. It was sort of just taking off then, monetize and get brand deals at the time. And so we were sort of one of the first platforms to do that. Niche was acquired by Twitter in 2015, and sort of our team was kind of folded into Twitter's larger brand strategy and sales ecosystem. And so we kind of kept building Niche from inside Twitter for a while, still doing our own brand partnerships with Instagram stars, obviously trying to help Vine monetize, unsuccessfully, I guess, given what happened to it while we were there, and also helping brands who wanted to advertise content on Twitter work with creators, artists, stop motion animators, help creators attend live events, but, basically providing additional product support to advertisers on Twitter. That was kind of what we were doing. After a few years at Twitter, the same founding team from Niche, we left and started a company called Brat TV out in Los Angeles, which was, it still is going pretty strong, but it's a sort of media company for Gen Z, primarily creating IP around scripted content. So I think, you can think of it as, for those who are old enough, the WB, CW kind of vibe from the 90s, Saved by the Bell. Like we were trying to bring back kind of the sort of timeless sitcom vibe that I feel like we felt like there was a lack of that content in the market. And so we created this whole sort of ecosystem and universe of all these characters there. And again, this was live scripted shows. And to tie it back to creators, I think instead of hiring mainstream, regular actors to be in these shows, we hired TikTok stars and YouTubers and different people who were making amazing content on their own channels and ultimately wanted to sort of crack into Hollywood a little bit and test their chops at acting. And so we sort of seeded our whole ecosystem with creators. And so after Brat, I think, I sort of personally been very involved in crypto for a while. And, Rally, when I got connected to the team here, was kind of an incredible combination of crypto and kind of taking the whole creator ecosystem to another level that, like, frankly, I didn't think was possible. And so it kind of was an opportunity too good to pass up. And, it's been an incredible 3 months to be a part of it. I think you want to go to the next slide. Cool. So creator partnerships in general, just to sort of share like what we're doing. Ultimately, our team is responsible for bringing new creators to the Rally platform. Our focus is primarily on highly followed and or influential creators, talent, media properties, teams, IP, whether this is individual people or, again, sports teams. As everyone knows, there's lots of different entities and communities that could ultimately benefit from having a coin. And this isn't to say that like Rally doesn't value people out if you're not highly followed or influential. This is more of a comment about like where my team's specific focus is. And I think, as I'll share in a couple slides later, our strategy of growing the network is ultimately to try to land a bunch of, influential tentpole sort of lighthouse creators within different specific verticals to help, evangelize Rally and illuminate all the benefits that you can get from launching a coin with us. And ultimately the trickle down effect from those creators joining the network will benefit everyone and hopefully, grow the entire network. And so from a sort of day-to-day standpoint, Bryce, Grant, like what we do when we're not on these calls presenting, we're ultimately, networking with a wide array of, our own personal connections, agencies that we have relationships with, ambassadors, I think, partners, and we're ultimately, pitching, Rally in general. We're pitching and coming up with specific creator strategies for individuals, and trying to get creators from maybe they hadn't heard of Rally initially all the way through to onboarding and actually launching their coin. So that's sort of, there's a lot that's rolled up into that, but that's kind of what our day-to-day process is collectively as a team. And, generally we've sort of currently broken ourselves into 5 main verticals: gaming, music, entertainment, fine arts, and sports. And I'll talk again in a minute about those specifically. I think over time, maybe in the near future, we'll change the way we kind of verticalize ourselves. I think these categories, especially entertainment, for example, is a pretty broad category. I think, currently our focus there is mostly on what, a lot of people would refer to as like digital talent, people who primarily create content on YouTube and TikTok and social media, but that obviously includes, studios and traditional actors and, IP property and different things. So, that's kind of how we're generally organized. But again, I think as the whole space and different companies operating in it are so new that we're, constantly on our toes looking to evolve sort of in real time as this goes. But that's kind of how we're currently looking at it. So cool. Yeah. Next slide here. I think, Rob, Grant, Bryce just spoke. I think you're familiar with them generally. I want to introduce also Caroline, who's our head of entertainment, who comes to us from Awesomeness TV, Viacom, CBS, Nickelodeon. She's kind of our digital talent expert who has a long track record working with folks in the YouTube space. And Tam, who's our lead in the fine art space. She comes from Showfields, and sort of has had a long background in curation, kind of in the traditional art world, and has been very much on the forefront of kind of the digital evolution with NFTs that have happened in the last, 6 to 12 months. As I said, Bryce, our head of music, comes from Fender. Rob and Grant, sorry to put you on your own tiers. Grant's kind of our jack of all trades, I think, focusing on a lot of different verticals, but obviously I think people are more familiar with him. He predates me at the company. Sports, I put the question marks there. I don't know if people have been to our jobs website. We are currently hiring for a head of sports at the moment, so we don't have anyone leading that. I think, the team, as well as Bremner and myself, are kind of leading that at the moment. And then we have 3 new hires that, not ready to say who they are exactly, but who start in the next few weeks to help us. One is going to be sort of our director of strategic partnerships, and then 2 creator strategists who are going to be focused on kind of evolving our use cases and coming up with specific strategies for some of the creators that we're talking to. And so, I think, we've assembled this incredible team in a pretty short amount of time. Obviously, Rob, Grant, a few others were here at the company before me and created an amazing foundation for us to build off of. But, we sort of have an amazing background and who's who of people in the creator world that are driving the Rally network forward. And, we're all working really hard. So I think it's only a matter of time before a lot of the conversations and work that we've been doing is going to start to pay off in terms of the launches that I think, already a lot of them are in the queue, and hopefully you'll start seeing some soon. But it's an amazing group, and hopefully, others will get to speak on these calls in the future as, the different verticals kind of evolve and grow. So, wanted to talk a little about the verticals. As I said, maybe in a month, 6 months, we'll sort of change this. And I think entertainment specifically may break apart into some different groups. But I think and forgive this chart, definitely don't read too much into the placement exactly. I just threw it together. So it's not meant to be exactly quantitative. But I think that the point here was kind of to share kind of the progress of some of these verticals and how we're looking at things. And I think, gaming first and foremost, obviously, there's a good amount. This refers to, esports and Twitch streaming and that whole genre. I think Rally, the founding team and kind of the DNA of the company comes from the gaming world. So it makes sense that we sort of started there and had a lot of success, but also, gamers and streamers are definitely on the more technologically savvy group and early to adopt sort of new and emerging technologies. And so I think that's a tier that we are able to get a little further along in conversations with those folks. And obviously a lot of people are interested in talking to us, and we're in active conversations with most of the big gaming teams and collectives and management groups. On the similarly music, I think while maybe, Bryce obviously is the expert in the space, but I think while maybe not quite as technologically evolved naturally, I think the concept of kind of the digital fan club that you can use with Rally and the Discord server, and obviously, as exampled by Portugal the Man being one of our early big creators, I think the use cases and kind of getting Rally to, and the concept of creator coins to click with that vertical has been pretty successful. And, again, Bryce can attest to how busy his calendar is every week with the meetings and people that want to talk to us. And similarly, fine arts, with NFTs, that obviously kind of blew up the whole space in terms of people being really aware of blockchain technology and, where creators coins fit in on that. And so we're definitely using the NFT as kind of the conversation to shoehorn ourselves in there and ultimately hopefully have them launch coins and potentially NFTs with Rally as well. So yeah, if you want to, Joe, to click through. So, we've been doing a lot of thinking of like why specifically some of the verticals have been more successful than others and what our challenges are. And I think you can, I guess, click one more time and share the other thing. So with gaming, fine arts, and music, I think the key there is that the existing business models for these folks already have sort of created a direct relationship financially between the fans and the creators. And that's not to say that there aren't like middlemen and different platforms involved, but ultimately most of the economic activity is the fan sort of paying money directly to the specific person that they're trying to engage with, buy something from, get content from, whether that's for, subscribing and tipping on Twitch or buying music, although obviously there's streaming platforms now, attending a concert, buying merch and buying art from a specific person. I think it's a very targeted relationship directly from the fan to the creator. On the other hand, for entertainment and sports, it's a very different model. I think it's the primary source of revenue for those groups comes from advertisers, and the fans are used to, maybe they're buying a subscription to a television or cable or whatever, but ultimately they're not paying directly for the content. And, in the case of YouTube, for example, the fans get all the content for free. And the way that they get it is by donating their eyeballs and attention for an advertisement that then ultimately pays the creator a share of that. And so like these sort of fundamental differences in the business model, I think create new challenges for Rally to sort of insert a creator coin into their mix and kind of have it make sense with the things that they're already doing. And I think like Rally's definitely taken a position that, we don't want to create another social network inside of Rally where we have to ask the creators to tell their fans to go to a totally different place. We ultimately want to integrate ourselves in the places the fans already are. And so because of that, I think for YouTube creators and all these, the other creators that have these ad supported business models, it is a different challenge. And so I think we're learning a lot about that as the conversations go on. And there's certainly tons and tons of use cases that we could be doing. And we're obviously working on that and trying to get new integrations on different platforms. But ultimately, it's sort of a different set of challenges. Whereas I think with gaming, fine arts, and music, as the sort of rising tide of crypto raises all boats, obviously as Rally continues to evolve, I think it's more of a question of continuing to accelerate what we're already doing there. Whereas on the sports and entertainment world, I think we have to actually like figure out how to attach the crypto business model to what they're already doing. And I think one of the amazing benefits of Rally is that hopefully we can disrupt some of those models and wean some of those creators off those ad-supported models, which ultimately give the platforms like YouTube and Facebook, et cetera, like a lot of leverage over the creators. And that's obviously one of the huge benefits to Rally that we definitely want to embrace and lean into. But ultimately, at this sort of still early stage of our evolution, we have to crack through it there because there's, a decade plus of infrastructure built by these big tech companies that have very directly sort of walled the creators into their ecosystems. And so we need to figure out how to crack into there and ultimately sort of break it apart a little bit. So it's a fun challenge, but it's a hard one. And so that's why we've sort of broken it off into these verticals, and have the team sort of leading each of them from a strategy perspective. So cool. Yeah, just a little bit more on, outside of the verticals, just more on sort of the creator tiers. And again, like these are not hard and fast levels. They're not directly related to like number of followers. And again, this is more about like the team's priority of its time and less about who Rally ultimately wants on the platform and who potentially could come through the onboarding. And I think our challenge is that we're sort of trying to attack this pyramid from both sides. On one hand, sort of from the top down with the partnerships team, and then additionally from sort of the bottom up with, eventually having a more automated process to bring creators on the platform. And again, I think these are not like technical terms, but I guess, the tier one icon level folks you could imagine are sort of the most famous, well-known people in the world, which again, does a lot of the time directly correlate with followers or audience, but there's also people, in the art world, for example, or in some other places where like maybe they don't have 1 million followers on Instagram, but they're incredibly influential within a certain pocket. And so like the reason why we're hiring subject matter experts within each of these verticals is to be able to figure that out, because, we don't want to just blindly look at follower counts and audience size and make decisions based on that, because ultimately it's a lot more nuanced. And so we want to be taking a really sort of strategic, intelligent approach to it. But again, at a high level, the partnerships team is taking this sort of top-down approach right now in terms of priorities. If you look at things kind of based on this pyramid, the upside to this strategy is that as we do bring in some of these influential sort of icon trailblazer level creators, it's obviously going to bring a ton of awareness to the platform. It's going to move the needle a huge amount in terms of, rally collateral on the network and economic activity and new users and all these great things. The downside, if you want to go to the next slide, is these sort of icon level folks, unfortunately, they're no longer just individual people. They are corporations and sort of, countries almost onto themselves sometimes. And, not everyone has all of these different parties around them necessarily, but like sometimes they honestly do. And it's a pretty crazy web of third parties and competing interests and potential conflicts and lawyers and accountants and friends and sponsors and all the folks on the partnerships team. Like our expertise at the core is navigating this whole web, and that's sort of what we're really experienced in at all the previous companies. But ultimately, like this takes time, and I think getting a creator to say, yes, I want to launch a creator coin with Rally, I love the product, I'm excited to do this, that's sort of just part one of this, and actually like the easier part, because as all of you know, you're as part of this community, like Rally is incredibly exciting. I think our general pitch of why this makes sense, why you should do it, is pretty compelling. And I think anyone who has their eyes open even a little bit to sort of the crypto evolution of things will see that. The problem is when you actually get to the details of launching it and what the rollout's going to be and the timing and, potential paperwork concerns and tax concerns, this becomes a bit of a swamp that we have to dig through. And so for that reason, I think that the conversations with sort of the higher level folks that we're going after, they take a while. And so, there's conversations that started right when I started 3 months ago that were just now getting over the hump of some of these things. And so, I think that's just the reality of working with people at that level, and ultimately how we've sort of staffed the team to have expertise to do this. But did want to just sort of shed some light to everyone that it is a complex thing. And I think, frankly, as potential regulations and different things in the crypto space start evolving and the legitimacy increases across the board, this will get better, because I think these different parties will be more educated on this, and they won't necessarily need to rely on us to explain everything to them. And they won't be asking us about legal questions and tax things that we really like aren't equipped or able to answer necessarily. And so, yeah, like this is the world of creator partnerships. I think for myself and the team, it's pretty fun and exciting. And obviously we're hoping to have the payoff of launching some amazing partnerships really soon. But yeah, I think that's the last slide, but obviously, at the end, happy to read through the comments and answer any questions, but hopefully that kind of made sense at a high level, and appreciate the chance to share.
Awesome. Thank you, Nick.